If you're looking for a luxury SUV that offers a little more pizzazz versus your average Audi, BMW, or Mercedes, you're probably looking at one of these. This is the 2025 Bentley Bentayga. Bentley has been playing in the uber luxury SUV space for nearly a decade when the original Bentayga came out back in late 2016. And since then, this model has grown to become Bentley's most popular vehicle, with their global sales accounting for over 50% with this model right here. Now, as you can see, this week, the company has loaned us a slightly different version of the Bentayga versus the last one that we tested. This is a 2025 Bentayga S V8, which means it has the 4-liter twin-turbo V8 delivering nearly 550 horsepower, and it also has a look that delivers more of that sporty potential that Bentleys are just generally known for. So if you guys are in the market for an ultra-luxury SUV that stands out a lot more versus your neighbor's Mercedes, but not quite as ostentatiously as a Rolls-Royce, how does the latest 2025 Bentley Bentayga S stack up? Stay tuned to find out. Now, before we start talking about the exterior styling of this particular Bentayga S, let me go ahead and pop the hood and talk about what's powering this vehicle. Now, here in America, Bentley offers a choice of 2 different powertrains. They did offer a range-topping speed at one point that had a 12-cylinder. However, that was discontinued about 2 years ago. This is probably the powertrain that most people are going to go with. It's the company's signature 4-liter twin-turbo V8. Now, as you guys probably guessed it, this vehicle does share the same MLB Evo architecture that also underpins the Porsche Cayenne, the Audi Q7, a Lamborghini Urus, which means it's going to share a similar engine. This is a 4-liter direct injection double overhead cam of twin turbo V8 without the 48-volt mild hybrid system. So this is not a hybrid at all. It's totally a gas V8. Here in the Bentayga, it delivers 542 horsepower and 568 pound-feet of torque. That's obviously a little bit less power versus what you're going to find in like the Porsche Cayenne in its top forms or the Lamborghini Urus, but it is more power versus the Audi SQ7 that we recently just tested, about 42 more horsepower versus the Audi. It all goes out through an 8-speed automatic transmission built by ZF, and all Bentaygas come standard with all-wheel drive. This is a longitudinally mounted V8, so it's not like a transverse engine. It doesn't share anything with something like the MQB architecture in an Atlas. This is, again, an all-wheel drive vehicle all the time. Now, fuel economy is rated at 14 in the city, 21 on the highway. That's, of course, on premium gas. This has a 22.5-gallon fuel tank. You're looking at around 350 to just under 400 miles of range, depending on how efficiently you're going to be driving. Bentley claims this model is good for 0 to 60 in about 4.4 seconds. That's likely conservative because we got 4 seconds in the last extended wheelbase model that we tested about a year ago. Top speed for this model is around 180 miles an hour, and this is a big SUV. It can actually tow a surprisingly decent amount at 7,700 pounds, and as this car sits, it weighs in at around 5,400 pounds, about 200 pounds lighter versus the extended wheelbase. Keep in mind, if you guys want more efficiency, there is a plug-in hybrid twin-turbo V6 that offers 23 miles of electric-only range. I haven't had a chance to drive that yet, but I'm hoping I'll be able to do so sometime early next year. But let's go ahead and close up the hood here and talk about the exterior styling. Now, my particular test car, like I mentioned earlier, is the S trim level. The S trim level is definitely going to be known as the sportier option. At least for now, it's the sportiest because there is no speed for 2025. But you can see painted in Titan gray metallic, this exterior color certainly looks properly sinister. In fact, the S version includes basically a blacked out version of these Swarovski crystal-like jeweled full LED headlights. You can see this outer or inner portion oval right here is the LED low and high beam. The outer portion is the daytime running light and the LED turn signals. This is just absolutely glitzy and glamorous. I mean, if there's one ostentatious styling detail of Bentleys, it's those jeweled headlights. The Bentley grille here, as you can see, has been blacked out with this kind of mesh design, which I really love. The Bentley logo there along the hood creases and bulges looks absolutely fantastic, along with the black accents. You can see at the front there, you have the front camera and radar system for the adaptive cruise, along with the front camera mounted there in the grille. There's some genuine carbon fiber there at the lower splitter. And overall, with those functional air intake openings, it just screams sophistication, it screams money, it screams opulence. But at the same time, it's also a lot more restrained versus a Rolls-Royce Cullinan. which is, I would argue, this car's main competitor. You could also compare it to a Range Rover or a Mercedes-Benz Maybach GLS. Now, moving around to the side profile, being built off of the MLB Evo architecture means that the Bentayga is a relatively big vehicle with a 117.9-inch wheelbase, a 201-inch overall length. Compared to the EWB, this is around 7 inches shorter in the wheelbase and the length. It's around 78.7 inches wide. You can see the S includes these gorgeous two-tone 5-spoke directional wheels. They're a 22-inch alloy wheel with a gloss black and a polished look to them. I much prefer these over the all-black wheels that we tested last year in the EWB. Brake rotors measure nearly 16 inches at 15.8. 15-inch rotors at the back. You can also get carbon ceramics if you want for an extra price. Those brake calipers are also painted red. Those are a 6-piston caliper, which look fantastic. You have a 285 by 40 R22 Pirelli P0 performance tire, which is, going to help give us the grip that we need. This vehicle also comes standard with an adaptive air suspension, which can raise and lower the vehicle depending on your drive modes. I love the full paint finish here. You can see the beautiful metallic sparkle in the paint, which the paint charge is expensive. I can't remember off the top of my head how much extra it is, but I would not pay extra for this gray color. It does look good with the gloss black that you get there with that fake fender vent, which I don't love. There's also some gloss black for the mirrors, which are power folding with your cameras integrated. You can see there's black trim around the window trim along the roof rails, and then a panoramic glass sunroof is going to be included on this trim as well, which does open up to vent air and it lets in a ton of light into that somewhat darker interior, which I'll show you on in the next clip. Now, backing away from the vehicle, you can see the Bentayga definitely has a nice presence to it. I mean, just over 200 inches long. This is without a doubt a full-size SUV, but it's also not quite as long as like a Cadillac Escalade. It's about the same length, I believe, as a Land Rover Range Rover, the longer wheelbase model, I believe. And then if you look over at the rear, you can see Bentley did give this vehicle a style update back in 2021 with these new oval taillights that have got kind of that jewel-like finish to them as well. They're full LED, which is nice. You can see the styling specification includes the carbon fiber for the rear wing, which I actually love how tall and how predominant it is. There's a third brake light integrated there. The rear window wiper sits right there at the base of the glass. I would have preferred it to be tucked underneath the spoiler itself. The big B Bentley badge there obviously lets everybody know this is a Bentley, although compared to the EWB, this is not spelling out Bentley at the back, which I actually think it looked better when it was spelled out at the back. You can see the rear bumper certainly looks pretty aggressive with the rear diffuser and the quad outlet exhaust. Those are real exhausts, by the way, and the S version comes standard with the sport exhaust system, which have active valves. Let's go ahead and fire it up. You guys can hear how it sounds real quick. Now, I wish it didn't have such a low 4,000 RPM rev limiter, but it definitely has some nice pops and crackles, and it has that classic German muscle car feel. So I really love the way this V8 sounds. Now, opening up the cargo area, this vehicle does come with a power liftgate that is hands-free, but you can see just push the B button there, that opens up the trunk, and you can see with the cargo space back here, which is really nicely finished, Bentley surprisingly only says this vehicle offers 17.8 cubic feet of cargo space. 17.8 is really paltry. Most vehicles in this class offer literally double the space, maybe even more than double the space. So I'm surprised for how big it is. The cargo area is not that much, although it is definitely very usable. You can see there's really beautiful plush carpeting. There's these really nice rail system here where you can kind of I guess use tie-down points if you want to secure your cargo. A little bit of additional storage here. You can raise and lower the suspension. And then if you lift this up, you can see there is a little bit of underfloor storage. No spare tire, however. It looks like this vehicle just comes with a fix-a-flat kit and some additional tools. Look at that, there's actually an Audi badge there for the, I guess that's the amplifier for the stereo system, although my test car here has the Bang & Olufsen stereo system. Now, you can fold down those seats. They fold down in a 40-20-40 arrangement, and Bentley sadly does not quote what the number is. You can't fold them down from the back here, as you can see, obviously. But I'll show you that in a separate clip. I love the metal scuff plates here and that go really nicely with the well-finished cargo area. You can also see when I open up the tailgate, the tail lights, they moved up with the tailgate, and then the actual light turns for the turning still moved down to the lower bumper. That's obviously going to be a safety thing. Your reverse light is also down there, so it's also a full LED. But overall, the cargo area, while it's not the biggest, is certainly going to be still pretty useful. So once you get past the gorgeous exterior styling of the latest Bentley Bentayga, let's go ahead and hop into the interior and talk about all the extravagant luxury touches you're going to get when you buy a Bentley badged vehicle. Before we get inside, let me show you guys the key fob. You can see Bentley gets its own unique key fob compared to other vehicles under the Volkswagen umbrella. It's a metal key that feels really heavy. It has a nice weight to it. It is a little bit of a larger fob, but again, the big B badge there reminds you you're driving something special. Typical buttons here for lock, unlock, power liftgate, and panic function. No remote start from the fob, although I've never had access to a Bentley app system to see if there is remote start through there. But as you can see, as you approach the door handle, these door handles are conventional pull style. If you tap that little area here, you can see that locks the door. The mirrors also will electrically fold. It has that Audi Porsche chirp as well, which I actually like the way that sounds. There's no auto walk-away lock or unlock feature on the latest Bentayga. Now touch the back of the door handle, you can see that will unlock the door for you. And my particular test car with the Titan gray exterior is complemented by this two-tone Beluga and Hotspur premium Napa leather interior with the diamond quilted and the cross stitching as well. This is definitely an interesting color combination. I like the two-tone look. Bentley basically offers so many different interior colors and exterior colors to choose from, so I can't remember them all off the top of my head, but you can again change the two-tone look. This is the more subtler two-tone, but you can make this entire portion red if you'd prefer. You can also change the main hide, which is this here, and the secondary hide, which is the dash and the steering wheel. You can also change the way the color combination is on the steering wheel. You can see my test car has the red there for the third spoke. So many ways you can customize the interior, which is exactly what you expect from a Bentley. You can even change the S logo that's embossed onto the seat back to the Bentley logo if you'd like. These seats adjust in, I believe, 20 different ways. They're heated, ventilated, and massaging. That's part of the comfort specification that includes that massaging feature. You can see the the door panel has beautiful materials. Big upgrade versus an Audi or a Porsche even. You can see you have lots of real leather with contrast red stitching. This is the dark tinted diamond turned aluminum for an extra $4,000 that you find on the dash and on the door panel. You have some real chrome and metal trim, more leather here, the diamonds quilted leather on the dash there, or on the door panel there, and then a nice padded center console. I love these metal accented controls, which just have that satisfying click feel to them. Of course, you have real leather stitching along the lower portion. There's the upgraded 16 speaker Bang & Olufsen stereo with, I believe, 1600 watts of power. It sounds incredible. These speakers are also illuminated at night, which look really cool. There's also the Name audio system for an extra charge that gives you 20 speakers. You have two-person memory on the driver and on the passenger side. So again, all of the features that you expect from a Bentley. I also love the way the seat controls are looking as well. Like I said, you can adjust this in 20 different ways. There's the massage button there. You can also adjust the bolster for here and for here individually. My test car also has the plusher carpeted floor mats along with the Bentley sport pedals, which just look really great. Now stepping inside, you can see the Bentayga has a nice easy step-in height, and unfortunately you do have to actually manually close the doors. There's no soft close, or there's no like automatic door close feature like on a Rolls Royce, so I have to annoyingly reach over and pull the door, but at least I don't have to slam it. You can see it has a soft close feature, and once it does close, it just feels like you're in like a bank vault. It's just very quiet and serene in here. Now, if you want to slam it, the door has a really solid sounding thunk, so that's what you expect when you buy a vehicle of this caliber. Now, once you're inside, you can see really nice impressions, first impressions with the interior. Start-stop button is located right here, right by the shifter. And when the vehicle starts up, it reminds you constantly that you're in a special car, especially with that lovely V8 burble, because the S versions come standard with the sport exhaust system. Now, in terms of technology, Bentley is definitely a little bit behind the times compared to its rivals, but at the same time, some would argue that it's more classic in terms of its technology. It's not overwhelming with so many ridiculously sized screens, so I can appreciate that as an enthusiast. Now, you can see here on the dashboard, you have the same beautiful real leather with the contrast stitch. There's a heads-up display over there, although it's a little bit small by modern standards. You have more leather on this portion. You have some piano black plastic trim over here, along with some metal trim covering this beautiful Bentley clock, which I believe you can also change the style of that. I also love the organ pulls to open and close the vents, although I will say, compared to a Rolls, these are just metal coated. They're not metal, they're actually plastic vents underneath the metal coating, but it still looks pretty nice. You can see also over here, this is also not metal, but I love the way these circular vents look with the organ pulls. That beautiful dark turned aluminum trim looks great. The steering wheel actually comes from an Audi RS product, but it does look Really great with the Bentley logo, with the metal trim here, the big Bentley badge, the metal along this portion of the steering wheel. There's metal paddle shifters behind to control the 8-speed auto. You also have a power tilt telescoping wheel, which is nice. A lot of the controls, again, remind you of Audi, but with some nice metal touches to them to make them feel a little bit more special. The horn, it sounds pretty much as I expected, not puny, but appropriately toned given the size of this vehicle. The instrument panel, as you can see, this is the fully digital 12.3-inch cluster, which did get a graphic update compared to the last Bentayga I was in. You can see that is a new looking display for the TAC front and center. If I push that view, you can go to the traditional 2-dial look, and if I push that again, you can go to a view that shows the inside portion a little bit more expanded with the speed and the tachometer off to the side, which I actually love the way that looks. You can also click it over to the left to go to your map display there, which is cool, your phone information, Bluetooth, driver assistance function. So I like the way that looks now with the updated software. Again, so I believe they changed that last year, which I think actually makes it look a little bit more modern. The center stack here, you can see, has a 10.9-inch display, which is a touchscreen, and it also has wireless Apple CarPlay, but wired connection for Android Auto. This is essentially the same screen that I showed you last year. Bentley updated the screen back in 2021, I believe. So this was the first Bentley model to get wireless phone integration. You can see it's kind of a reskinned version of the Audi system that you find from their MMI, which is, again, their older system. If you go to the car icon, you can adjust a couple of things here along with your mood lighting. The ambient lighting in this vehicle, part of the ambient lighting package, definitely looks fantastic at night. You can change from a plethora of different colors. There's some beautiful lighting along the door panels, along the footwells. And it just makes this interior feel classy and elegant and modern without being overwhelming, like some would argue in some BMW or Mercedes products with their ambient lighting. The GPS, as you can see, is pretty similar to what you find in some Audis, minus the Google Earth display, but it does look amazing. The resolution is fine. It does offer traffic as well, but most people are going to use the phone anyways, or your smartphone integration, which is what most people are using anyways. So that, again, is pretty decent. If I put the vehicle into reverse, you can see there's your top-down full 360 camera with trajectory, parking sensors, of course. You can also change, I believe, different views over there, like a different top-down view. You can do a curb view there, a front and a rear curb view. You can also change the view over there, where you can kind of do a perimeter 360 scan. That quality and graphic and resolution looks great, although, again, the screen is looking a little bit small at 10.9 inches. Where some competitors offer as big as like a 17-inch display or even like a huge 55-inch display that Cadillac offers in the Escalade, for example. So that's something to keep in mind. You have quad zone automatic climate control. You have satisfying clicks, of course, from the knobs that are in this vehicle, which I particularly love. You have a wireless phone charging pad here. This controls your 8-speed auto. You push the big B here to put it into reverse or into drive, and then push the P here to go to park. Your drive mode selector is here. There's a choice between a sport mode, a Bentley mode, a comfort, and a custom mode. It's just 4 simple drive modes, which I really appreciate. Your stability control off switch is here, along with your downhill assist control. I don't love the piano black here. This is going to show fingerprints and scratches annoyingly. There's another storage area here. You can adjust this individually, which is nice on each side, and then you can also open this up to reveal a relatively shallow storage compartment here with a 12-volt and 2 USB-C charging ports. So that's all nicely tucked away, which I appreciate. The premium leather in here feels really high quality. The seats are also nicely padded and plush. They hold you in place nicely. You can also adjust these bolsters here. And the massage function, you can basically activate by pushing this little button here. You can see there's 5 different types of massages, 5 different types of intensities, and it works extremely well. Part of that comfort specification, you can see the glove box goes into the dash. It's damped and lined with felt. It offers a good amount of additional storage. And then you can see here there's an auto-dimming rearview mirror, no digital camera rearview mirror. Love the Alcantara material in the headliner along with the LED map lighting here. This sunroof, as you can see, does open up. It tilts and it also opens up completely to vent air just over the front seat. There's also a built-in wind deflector there as well, and it definitely lets in a lot of light. You can also open it up fully if you want there, which it offers a good amount of open and airiness, which I appreciate. But overall, the interior definitely has that high quality hand assembled feel. Lots of quality materials as well. Feels a lot nicer than the last Audi or Porsche Cayenne that I tested. And there isn't a single squeak and rattle in this vehicle. So it really shows you that Bentley is sweating the details here. And even though it shares its routes with more plebeian, vehicles, it definitely feels special and it feels like, it's worthy of the Bentley badge. But let's go ahead and hop into the backseat area here and show you guys that space. Now, obviously, being the shorter wheelbase model, you do have a little bit less rear seat legroom, but Everything is relative here because Bentley says this back seat in the 5-seat comfort specification, you can also get it with 4 seats or basically 2 bucket seats, still offers just under 41 inches of legroom back here. 41 inches is a good amount. The longer wheelbase model offers an additional 7 inches for a total of 48 inches, which is just absolutely ridiculous. You can see the door panel has the same beautiful materials with the real leather, the diamond turned aluminum, the real leather here, leather all throughout here, and you also have still illuminated speakers back here. You also have these power retractable peasant blockers, which again is part of that comfort specification package, which I think most people are going to appreciate and expect when you're in a vehicle of this caliber. You can see these are sadly just a manually adjusting seat, and if you pull on this, you can see the seat does fold down, but it doesn't give you a completely flat floor. There's still a little bit of an incline here, which I think they should have worked a little bit harder to make it completely flat. You can also recline these seats if you'd like, but let me go ahead and hop back here and show you guys what this space is like. Now, once I pull on this lever here to recline the seat back, let's go ahead and close the door. Door still has the soft close feature with that solid sounding thunk, and you can see here, this is pretty much my driving position. There is a good amount of space. I mean, I can easily stretch out here, plenty of foot space. I can also easily cross my legs, but I do remember the EWB offering way more interior space versus this, but again, this is still pretty generous. You do have the same organ pulls back here for the metal covered dash or air vents. You also have a little 5-inch display over here where you can adjust all your different sources. You have 2 USB-C charging ports and a 12-volt under there, and you can see, just like the other Bentleys that I've shown you, you can also adjust the climate from back here, the seats, the blinds, the lighting, the car settings, and then if this is too far, it is really far, tap right there, and you can see that this makes the screen pop out, which is beautiful. I love the way this looks here. So if I want, I can basically go into the blinds here. I can close everything if I want, so I can do close all. Right there, it closes the shade, it closes both of the blinds back here, which is fantastic. Going back to the home display, you can also go into the seats. This vehicle does have heated and ventilated seats in the second row as well, although my test car sadly doesn't have the massage function in the rear seats. You can also adjust the climate from back here. There's quad zone climate control as well, which is really cool. I can also adjust the lighting back here. The ambient lighting is adjustable. So there's a lot of the controls from basically the front area that you can also control back here from this screen over here. So that's all really cool. This screen, like I said, is only 5 inches, but it feels really high quality. I love the way this tablet looks. And then when you're done with it, you literally just put it back in here and it sucks itself back in and it goes back into the base to charge as well, which is a fantastic thing. Now, pulling down this armrest, you can see just a standard armrest with 2 cup holders. But overall, it's pretty comfortable. These seats also have the same suede Alcantara. The heating and cooling function works nicely. The leather feels nice and plush. If I look above me, you can see pretty decent amount of headroom space, even though we've got this panel roof taking up some room, but I have a couple inches. You can see beautiful Alcantara back here. There's even leather covering the grab handles here on the roof. You have LED map lighting as well, which is nice. But overall, as you can see, the backseat area, while it isn't quite as nice as like a Rolls-Royce, Bentley does offer the captain's chairs with a center console here with a beverage cooler. That's going to cost you extra. This is still very much set up for, you know, a traditional 5-seat layout, but it still offers plenty of space, especially if you need to put full-size adults back here. So here we are back behind the wheel of the Bentley Bentayga. The last time I showed you guys a review of this vehicle was a little over a year ago, and we were driving the EWB, the extended wheelbase model. Now obviously driving the shorter wheelbase version, the shorter model, doesn't really feel all that different. This model is about 7 inches shorter in the wheelbase and in the overall length, but still it has that kind of level of solidity and just tank-like feel that you associate when you buy a vehicle with the Bentley badge. Even though this vehicle shares a platform, of course, with an Audi Q7, Bentley has gone to great lengths to make this vehicle feel and drive like a Bentley. Now, of course, this model that we're driving also comes with the 4-liter twin-turbocharged V8. It's essentially a variation of an engine that Porsche uses, that Audi RS Performance uses. It makes 542 horsepower, 568 pound-feet of torque, standard all-wheel drive with an 8-speed ZF-sourced automatic. Bentley claims this model should get to 60 in around 4.4 seconds, which we know is conservative. We got 4 seconds in the 200-pound heavier EWB. So we have the vehicle in its sport setting. Let's go ahead and see what we can get in the shorter wheelbase model. I am expecting this to break the 4-second barrier, and this engine, because it's German, is definitely overachieving. Now, it doesn't really have launch control, but you can brake torque it, so we'll do that. Ooh! Oh, listen to that sound. I love the pops and the crackles. Remember, this S trim level is a little different from the Azure that we tested a little over a year ago. It's the more sport-oriented model. It comes standard with the Sport Active exhaust that makes those lovely burbles and crackles from the exhaust. In sport mode especially, it's going to make even more. It also has that nice kind of German muscle car tone to the V8. It's a nice sound, and we got 3.8 seconds, so it's about 0.2 seconds faster versus the EWB, which doesn't surprise me. This is a little bit lighter, it has a little bit less heft to throw around, and it just feels properly sporty. In fact, if you guys are used to driving around like a Porsche Cayenne, which shares a platform with this vehicle, the Bentayga S just basically feels like a longer, more luxurious, more cushy version of that vehicle, which is not a bad thing. That's what I love about the MLB EVA architecture. It's incredibly versatile. Oof. All right, we did not brake torque it there, and it's also more going slightly uphill. We got 4.3 seconds on that run, so still properly quick. I mean, in the real world, you're gonna easily be able to do a 4-second run 0 to 60 all day long without even trying. And that's kind of the beauty about this powertrain. It just has that effortless feel, but it also has a sporty vibe that you're not gonna get in a Rolls-Royce Cullinan. Now, obviously, some would argue that you can't compare the Bentley to a Rolls. Rolls has no competition, but I would argue BS. You can compare the two vehicles, even though this car isn't quite as prestigious as a Rolls-Royce. It's not quite as ostentatious and flashy, although Bentley certainly has their own flashy vibe to it. The handling dynamics, this car got the rear wheel steering added for 2024, and the Bentayga drives like a smaller vehicle than it actually is. The steering is very quick, responsive. It doesn't offer much in terms of feedback, but the body just changes direction so fast. It has that adaptive air suspension, and in sport mode, it's a little bit stiffer. It has these paddles, metal paddles behind the wheel, and when you start activating the manual mode, oh, I love the sound of this thing. I mean, it is a little sad because Bentley did stop offering the W12's 12-cylinder motor in the Speed a couple years ago, but this V8 is nice. I mean, Bentley has basically assured us that this V8 is staying in the Bentayga for now, although we have no idea what they're going to do in the coming years because the company has promised they're going fully electric. There's also the hybrid version, a plug-in hybrid, which has a 3-liter twin-turbo V6 with an electric motor. It offers around 455 horsepower, so about 90-ish horsepower less than the V8, but you gotta love the V8. It's just the perfect partner for this vehicle, and it has an overachieving feel that moves around the 5,400-pound mass quite easily. But with the rear wheel steering, this vehicle certainly feels quite nimble. Oh, I did not expect it to have that nice little fart when it shifts there. That wasn't even full throttle, so that's amazing. Now, I'm gonna switch the drive mode here into Bentley mode. We've been driving it in sport mode, which kind of makes things a little bit more harsh. Harsh is not really the right word because it's still not harsh. I could daily this in sport mode, but it also quiets down the exhaust. It makes the transmission shift a little bit more aggressively. In Bentley mode, this is basically a mode that Bentley has custom tailored to be the perfect drive mode. So it's definitely going to give you the comfort that you're looking for, but it quiets down a little bit. It also is partially adaptive, I believe, where if you start driving it more aggressively, it'll automatically shift the programming. And I'm also sitting here in these really cushy, amazingly comfortable seats getting a massage. I mean, that's the whole vibe of a Bentley. It just feels like you're a boss. You're a boss bitch in this thing, and that's kind of the way, you know, people love driving Bentleys who can afford this kind of vehicle. It still has that nice crackle. It just makes you feel like, you know, king of the road, and that's kind of what, you know, gives this car more of that special feeling versus an Audi Q7 versus a Porsche Cayenne. Never driven a Lamborghini Urus, but the Urus is, again, the same vehicle with the same engine but more power. But I'm just shocked. I mean, in terms of everyday drivability, this vehicle definitely feels special. It has an amazing ride quality in this mode. Even though we're on 22s, it just soaks up the bumps really nicely. It feels like you're on a cloud, but it also doesn't feel floaty. It feels sporty, but still comfortable, which I love. It's so ridiculously quiet in here when the exhaust isn't making its presence known with the fart noises and burbles. It just glides down the road with zero road noise, zero wind noise, a nice little subtle burble in the background from the engine, which just adds to the whole ambiance. And in terms of visibility, you can see out of the front, the side, and the rear quite nicely in this vehicle. Although Bentley does not offer a digital camera rearview mirror, which I kind of wish they did. It certainly would make the visibility easier if you have a lot of stuff or people in the back, which I guess you probably won't in a Bentayga. But I mean, overall, not a single squeak and rattle in this vehicle. It's a hand-assembled car in England, and it feels every bit as high quality as you'd expect its six-figure plus price tag to be. And then in terms of technology, the infotainment system, it has wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. I like the new graphics with the digital, fully digital instrument cluster, of course. This vehicle also comes with the touring specifications. So you have their driver assistance with adaptive cruise, lane keep assist. It's not a full hands-free driving that you're going to find from some of the more modern, premium vehicles, or not even premium, uber luxury vehicles, but it still feels nice, and it also is really easy to use. Bentley is a little bit behind in terms of technology in that department, but it's still a really nice vehicle to drive and live with. In terms of fuel efficiency, it's rated at 1421 mpg. In my week's worth of testing, I averaged just under 14 mpg, about 13.8 mpg. That's mostly city driving, which isn't great. This V8 is not a mild hybrid or anything, or electrified in any way. Buy the plug-in hybrid version if you guys want even better gas mileage. On the highway, I was able to get around 20 mpg, which is not bad. 20 is pretty decent. With that 22.5-gallon fuel tank, that's on premium, you're going to be looking at just under 400 miles of range on the highway. I was doing around 340 in around town driving, which still isn't horrible, but it is an expensive vehicle to fill up because of the big gas tank and the thirst requirement for premium fuel. But hey, if you can afford $300,000 plus, you can certainly afford to fill this vehicle up. But even rich people don't want to have to waste money on gas. That is an expensive proposition any way you slice it. But overall, driving the EWB first, made me really like the Bentayga. Driving the shorter wheelbase S now and the sportiest variant really makes me, think this is probably an SUV I would personally get myself if I could afford something like this. Even though it's not, the flashiest or the most tech-focused model, it is an incredibly well-balanced vehicle that surprisingly gives me Porsche Cayenne vibes a little bit when I'm driving it. But unlike the Porsche, the interior is even nicer. It gives you an even quieter interior with better build quality, better or a cushier ride, and that's something as I get older that I've just grown to appreciate. So Bentley Bentayga S, definitely one of my favorite of the uber luxury SUVs. So after spending a full week with the latest Bentley Bentayga S, I have to say, guys, getting a chance to spend a week with a vehicle that literally is for like the top 1% of the population of the country is definitely a special thing for me, and it really shows you just how lavishly people who can afford a vehicle like this can live. Because even though this vehicle does share an architecture with an Audi Q7, it just feels nothing like the Audi. I mean, sure, there's a couple of, switchgear parts here and there that will remind you of an Audi. The chime kind of reminds you of an Audi. That's not a bad thing, because Audi is a luxury brand, and this Bentayga S is definitely the best, sportiest interpretation of the Bentayga. Just like the Audi SQ7 that I tested a couple of weeks ago, this vehicle definitely feels more like a Porsche in terms of its handling dynamics, in terms of its acceleration. That 4-liter V8, as you guys saw, delivered 0 to 60 in 3.8 seconds, which is honestly a quick time. You don't really need a vehicle like this to be any quicker than that. I'll be looking forward to testing out the plug-in hybrid at a later date. The ride quality just kind of nails that perfect balance between being a little bit sporty, but also being extremely comfortable without being floaty. The interior build quality is worthy of that Bentley badge. Remember, these vehicles are hand-assembled in England, and they use exquisite parts and craftsmanship. You just get a sense that you're driving something incredibly special, which is not an easy thing to accomplish, considering the roots of this platform can be traced back to like a $60,000 Audi Q7. The backseat also has plenty of space, although I personally would go for the rear executive package that'll give you the kind of the 2 seating at the back with the beverage cooler, and again, just kind of giving you that special, coach-like feel or first-class feel from an airline. The cargo area is small. That's the downside about the Bentayga, is how big it is. It doesn't have a very large cargo area. And in terms of the styling, Bentley made some updates to it a couple years ago. I personally didn't like the way the Bentayga looked at first, but the look has definitely grown on me, so I'll be curious to see what Bentley has planned for the next generation, because as you guys know, being that this model is their best seller, Bentley is going to keep things pretty conservative whenever they change the vehicle. Now, I wish I could tell you how many vehicles Bentley sells of this vehicle in the US every year. Some numbers I saw, some sources, although I question whether they were valid or not, Bentley, I think, sold around 3,800 units in the US last year, which honestly doesn't sound like a lot, but when you're spending this kind of money, that is actually a pretty good chunk of vehicles sold, because this Bentayga starts at around $205,000. That's right, 205 grand is the base price for a base version. Of course, being a Bentley, there's like a million different ways that you can customize this vehicle, which is kind of the beauty about buying a Bentley like this. Now, if you guys want the longer EWB, it's about $35,000 extra. Since I tested the Bentayga Bentayga about 2 years ago, this vehicle has increased in price by about $5 grand. So it's kind of annoying to see, you know, inflation even hits these higher end vehicles. They get expensive, more expensive every year. Now, in terms of the final pricing of this model, I have to pull out the Monroney because there's just so many damn options to choose. Now, if you guys want the S trim level, the S is going to start at around $240,000. That's before the $3,100 destination charge. Now, my particular test car has literally $67,000 worth of options, ranging from the extended range solid and metallic. I believe that's the color for $7,800. There's contrast stitching for $2,700. There's the touring specification, which is all the driver assistance, for $7,700. The Bentley styling specification is $9,000. So that's a lot of the carbon fiber that you see on the outside. There's the deep brushed aluminum trim on the inside for $1,300. The rear privacy glass is $1,300, which I think is absolutely insane. The Bang & Olufsen stereo is $7,500. The wheels are also $4,095, and then another S color specification is $4,000. All in, my test car comes to $310,655. I know 310 grand is going to be more than a lot of people's houses, although the housing market's been getting a little bit insane too with pricing. Obviously, that's a lot of money. Literally, if you guys are comparing it to a Range Rover starts at around $107,000. A Mercedes Maybach starts at around $180,000. But this is less expensive than an Aston Martin DBX or a Lamborghini Urus, so you could compare it to those. And also a Rolls-Royce Cullinan starts at around $400,000, but most are going to be around $600,000 with all the options that people tend to get. So yes, this vehicle is expensive, but it also is definitely a lot more special than its Audi, you know, counterpart or even Porsche counterpart. So I'd argue that if you guys have the means to afford this and you want something that's a little bit special but also still sporty because you're a driving enthusiast, you should definitely put the latest Bentley Bentayga S at the very top of your list. But with all that said, hope you guys have enjoyed my full overview on the 2025 Bentley Bentayga S. If you're also looking to see the latest cars I'm testing, be sure to follow me on Instagram at Redline_reviews, like us on Facebook, and as always guys, please keep subscribing to the Redline Reviews YouTube channel for all the latest reviews. Thank you so much for watching. I'll catch you all in the next video.